Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And on this episode with me today, I have someone who is the first African immigrant to become a nuclear missile operator in the United States Air Force and serving 3 U.S. military branches. He's a trained veterinary surgeon, combat medic, nuclear weapon system SME, senior program analyst, and U.S. Space Force Department of Defense civilian at the Pentagon. He turned to storytelling as a solace from an early life of poverty and loss. His new book is Underground, a memoir of hope, faith, and the American dream. Deji Ayoade, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Hey, David. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a great pleasure having you here, and what a fantastic story you have of exactly what you describe your book as, which is a memoir of hope, faith, and the American dream. Of course, I'm from the UK, so it'll have to be the UK dream for me, or any dream that anyone has in any of their countries, really. But obviously, the American dream is always spoken about, isn't it? Really, where some immigrants go and do actually become successful. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do agree with that. You know, it's funny. There is an American dream, and sometimes I do wonder whether there isn't like an engineering dream, a British dream, or something like that. You know, but at the end of it, I think an American dream really is still it's different for different people, and you know, it speaks to why you're here. You know, if you're an immigrant.
Yeah, sure.
Becoming an American and making something, you know, out of that vision you've always had. And so yes, I agree with you, and I think that dream can be achieved anywhere. It just depends on where your heart, wants to go and where it wants to be. You know.
Absolutely. Well, looking at your CV, you've done totally well with the American dream, probably more than I have as a product of immigrants as well in the UK. So. I know how it is for immigrants to arrive in a country and make it, work. I of course, probably might have read I'm a retired firefighter, so I've been in, some kind of uniform discipline service, but different to yours. But yours is I stand in awe with yours. Obviously, you've been a veterinary surgeon, which obviously takes training. It's a very high, job that very honourable profession. So is being a medic, combat medics as well. Nuclear weapon system, the list goes on. I mean, you're just so super talented by the looks on your resume, and to be working in, the Pentagon is really ultimate, really, with the background you've had. That's so fantastic. Could you just, before we talk about your book, Underground, can we just have your story as an immigrant of where was you from in Africa? How did you grow up, and how did you get to the States, and what happened to get to where you was now? Could you share your story with our audience?
Yes, absolutely. So I was born in Nigeria, and well, I don't want to say like every average Nigerian kid or any other immigrant, as a kid when they're in their home countries. I think for me, it was that there were things that drove me as a 7-year-old, just looking at my mom, my siblings, and not just being happy with what was going on in my environment. I think for me, primarily, it was also the abuse that my mom was going through then. And a lot of things can be normal in some countries and they aren't normal in some other countries, but the kind of things that we were experiencing were normal for, where we come from. But I didn't like it. I wanted to change. For a child like me, then reading books, watching, Hollywood movies, and just the way, playing it in my head, like, we could live a better life. Things can be better than this. Um, not constantly worrying that you might not wake up the following day, or maybe the last day on earth. Things like that. And I, as a 7-year-old, I made a promise to my mom. I told her, look, one day I'm going to become a doctor, and then I'm going to move to the United States. I'm going to become an American citizen, and I'm going to bring you over, and then you can live the life you always wanted to live as a young lady. And I think that was where it started for me. But as you know, it's one thing to dream and to have vision, and then to make it turn it into reality, it's a different thing. I was just a kid. I didn't know how I was going to achieve all of that, but I knew the reason why I wanted to do it. So eventually, I made it to vet school, became a veterinary doctor, and just kept going. The things that, of course, that happened, that could have, the details are in the book, but eventually I came down to the United States on part scholarship for a graduate program. And at that time, I was already practicing as a veterinary surgeon. In Nigeria, I was already traveling to Europe, actually, to do research. So, here in the United States, just going through the challenges of grad school, working part-time, sending money home, and doing all that. But I always knew in my heart, at the same time, I was studying and writing my board exams, so I can practice as a veterinary doctor in the United States. And that was while I was in grad school. But I always knew there was something more. I was really young, and I knew there was something missing. I was looking for my purpose, and at the same time wanted, my dream of bringing my family over to the United States was really undying in me. So eventually, I thought I figured out what it was. I decided, you know what, I'm going to join the military. And as a graduate, a college graduate, I could have commissioned straight, but I couldn't. So in the United States, you can enlist and you can commission. When you enlist, it means the requirement for that is high school diploma. And then if you commission, that means you're a college graduate. Because I didn't have citizenship, I couldn't commission. You have to be a citizen to be a commissioned officer in the United States military. So I enlisted.
So you had to wait 5 years for that, didn't you, or something, or get your green card, or?
So for green card, so I skipped the part where I got married. I met my then girlfriend, who became my wife. She's still my wife. She was one that fired for me. I got my green card. So with my green card, I could enlist in the military, but I couldn't commission. So I used my green card to enlist into the Navy, right? I got in the Navy, and while in training, I was naturalized as an American citizen. So there was no wait time. We're at war then, so the rules changed. It was once you're in training and they know you're going to pass your training, you're going to succeed, they will naturalize you because they need to clear you to do a lot of things, right? Once you show up to your first command. So that was how I got my citizenship. Earlier than I should have. Normally I would have had to wait 3 years because I got it through marriage. So quickly, while I was in the Navy, I applied for my mom, and that was the process of getting my family here started. Most of my family members are here now. My mom has been here since 2013, and she's living well, doing her own thing. But that was how I got in the Navy, and then after a couple of years in the Navy, I wasn't really spending time with my family. Like for the first 3 years, I think I went home twice, and 10 days each time to see my wife and my daughter. And then they came to visit me like once, I think. So my wife started like, look, we need to think about this because, you're just away for the most part. So I had to reach a compromise, right? I wanted to do something. I wanted my family to be happy. But at the same time, I wanted to keep being happy because I knew I felt fulfilled being in the military and do what I was doing. So I told her, look, I can commission. I can apply to the Air Force and commission to the Air Force. I'm eligible, and Air Force is a little more family friendly. And that was how I did. I got into the Air Force. I applied. I got selected for nuclear missile operations, which was quite shocking for me at the time when I got selected for it. considering I was an immigrant, and I mean, this is one of the jobs requiring one of the highest level of clearances, to kind of get into in this country. You can't just trust anyone with nuclear weapons, right? And it worked out, and so if anything else, I thought I was a blessing and a kind of surprise for me. It was, and I did it. I did my time in the Air Force, and the time came again when my wife thought, look, the kids are getting older. Now we have a son, 2 kids at that time. I said, look, we've moved quite a bit in the past couple of years, right? And these kids don't even know their cousins. They're not used to your mom. They're not used to a lot of people, your family members or my family members. We want them to grow around family members. So once again, I had to come to a compromise, with my family, try to figure out what's best for me and what's my family at the same time. So I decided to transition to reserves, move over to East Coast, right? Transition to reserves and pick up and go back to veterinary practice. Really, so I came back here. We came back here, settled down in Virginia, and I started going back into practice slowly while I was on terminal leave from active duty. And, I just knew something was missing again, right? It wasn't just doing it for me. I was getting bored and I needed to be back in the military. So, I talked to my wife about it and said, okay, look, I'm not going to go back to active duty. I'm going to look for civilian opportunities, but I want to go back to DOD, right?
Yeah.
Do the same mission as a civilian. And it didn't take long. After that, I started getting phone calls, from contracting companies, and then I got a call from the Pentagon, and that's why I got into Pentagon, started working for the Air Force, and then we created Space Force in 2019. If you heard about the whole Space Force thing going on at the time, I became one of the few Air Force civilians that got promoted to start helping build teams in Space Force, setting up the Space Force. That's how I started from the Navy and make my way all the way to Space Force. I'm still a Space Force guardian currently, and that's what I'm still doing.
Yeah. Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
What a journey! What a fantastic, positive journey you had as well. You really kept going, and things just kept working for you all the time. I'm sure there's been ups and downs, though, hasn't it? Really. I mean, I see that you've had a near-death experience. Tell us about that. That changed your life.
A lot. So, I mean, I just try to summarize as much as I can, about the journey, but there's no time to really dig into, the rough part. People see the smoother part of, they look at you and they see what you become. But you're right. There are a lot of work. There was a lot of work that I'm still, things that I still have to go through and things that I went through for those things to happen.
Yeah.
They weren't exactly smooth, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I've lost count of my near-death experiences.
Oh wow! That's interesting.
but starting from in Nigeria, I would just pick one. I had a couple in Nigeria before I finally came down here. I think the last one before I came here, I was traveling. I was serving as a veterinary doctor in the middle belt, northern part of Nigeria, and I was done with my service here, and I started looking for other opportunities on the southwestern part of the country. That was especially Lagos, where I came from.
Yeah.
And I got an interview. There was a doctor who had seen me doing community service in Jos. That was where I was serving at the time. And he invited me for an interview in Lagos. That, look, man, we'd like to have someone like you on the team. Anyways, I got on the night bus and on my way to Lagos to interview. And we were barely halfway, through the journey when we got attacked by armed rebels.
Oh.
And the driver tried to escape. He tried to just drive through them, and he didn't know there were so many of them ahead of him. And before we know it, we had probably over 50 people shooting at our bus. Eventually the bus came to a stop. After the driver had got shot in the arm, and I remember I was the first person to walk out of the bus after they started yelling at us to come down. Otherwise we're going to come on board and just kill everyone. I was literally working on dead bodies. A lot of people were shot dead on the bus, and when I got outside, of course, they took what they wanted to take. Uh, but the truth was, I remember at the end of that experience, just a lot of people died and a lot of people got injured, and I was one of the people that I thought I was shot because there was blood all over my shirt. It was later on I figured I found I wasn't sure. It was some other people's blood that got on my shirt, and I went back on the bus after helping some injured folks. I was after they left. Then we started trying to help those that were bleeding, that were still alive. We couldn't keep some, like a kid got shot, and I tried to help her stop her bleeding. And then after she stabilized, and then we put her on the bus, then drove her over to the hospital. I went on board, to grab my bag because I had all my life certificates, from primary school to my veterinary degree. I had everything in that bag. Okay.
That's your life. Well, your life as in
life work, everything.
Yeah, your work, your life's work. Yeah,
exactly. I got on board.
Or evidence of it.
That's it. I mean, in Nigeria, it's like a thing. You go. Yeah. If you don't see it, then you're nobody, literally.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find it. And then when I looked across the window from the window from my seat where I was sitting, I saw my bag ripped in the bush. Right, I ran off the bus, went around, grabbed the bag. It was empty. There was nothing in it. So I started kind of following the trail of papers and clothes, right, in the bush, and I started picking my papers one at a time. I was able to collect all the papers. I didn't care about anything else. And I remember I walked back to the front of the bus, sat down, and just busted out crying,
Yeah.
And I think that moment, what came to me was everything that I had worked so hard for, my dreams, my visions for me and my family, the promises I had made to my mom and my siblings would have, in seconds, let's just in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah, that's the good thing is that what you've described there is that you've had resilience to get through all that, really. And I think really this is probably what we're going to talk about now is your book, really, that, you've come around to write your book about a lot of this. And obviously, surprisingly, the name's Underground. Why did you write the book Underground? Hello?
Yes, and that moment, I was also 100% sure it was time for me to leave. I had to leave, and that was it for me. And my dad, before he died, finally confirmed that. He was the last thing he said. Before he died. I'm not sure what your plans are. I know you're traveling to Europe, but you have to consider leaving. You have to go. Your future is in America. I don't know why this is coming to me, but that's you would do well here, but it's not going to last. You got to go. And he died a week after that. So that was the life-changing moment for me.
Yeah. So let's move on to your book now. Why did you write your book, Underground?
I think Underground happened as a result of that. In 2010, we had our daughter.
Yeah.
And that was when, and then 3 years later, we had our son.
Yeah.
And it was when it hit me that, wait, in the next couple of years, like in the next decades, right? Maybe 2-3 decades, these kids are gonna get older. They may or may not get married. It depends, But what if they get married? They have their own children. The kids, my grandchildren, great grandchildren, may not even look anything like me, right? So I figured quickly it was time to start keeping a record of how we got here. I was the first to come here, right?
Yeah.
And I needed to leave a record of our heritage for my kids, for my children, so that in subsequent generations, we have a record they can go back to and read and know where they came from, how it began, what I had to go through to build the life that, I hope that they are able to build even further and do better than I have. So, I started putting that record together. I wasn't planning on publishing at the time. I was just writing, right? And then, this emotion started just coming out of me, I started remembering things, things my grandma told me as a child, things I experienced, things that they absolutely need to know to keep them straight, in the future when they understand my writings. And before I knew it, it was a lot. And then when my wife finally read the first draft of my book, she was literally crying, right?
Yeah.
And it hit me at that point. I said, you know what? I think this writing, the story that I've been able to put down can touch other people's lives as well. Starting from my children, my great grandchildren, they need to understand it's a privilege to be born into what the opportunities they have. They can't take it for granted. They can't waste their lives. They need to be focused, and hopefully something like that can help them when old enough to understand the content. And then immigrants coming to the United States, or those that are looking to come to the United States, right? That will show them that they're not alone, right? There are people that have gone through what they're going through, and they absolutely have no reason to be. It is people, no matter how successful people are in life, no matter how they deal with those people, they need to understand that those people worked really hard. They went through challenges to get to that point that they now admire from a distance. So, and even American citizens, or even non-citizens, that people from other developed countries, they can read a book like that and know that what I can take the privileges, the opportunities I have, where I'm born into, like in developed country, for granted. I need to take advantage and think about paying it forward and having people that need help also.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, what do you hope that Underground will accomplish?
Well, so I think I hit that a little bit. I think our first, the first now for the guy we accomplished, like I said earlier, my kids and generations that we follow, right?
Yeah.
I absolutely hope that they will lead a more daring lives than I have. I hope they will read through that and know that being born here as an American citizen, not having to go through what I went through, is a privilege. Having the life that we have is a privilege. They cannot waste it. They, I hope, they will take pride in their heritage and make something out of it and pass that on. Now, moving on to immigrants. Immigrants, I really hope that they will read that and not relent on their dreams. I hope that will push them to keep going no matter what. So there's something that my grandma used to tell me, that man can slow you down, but they will never be able to change what will be, right?
Yeah.
Because it is ultimately up to you, right? People will do things, and anything can happen, they can slow it and all that, but it is up to you. You play a huge role in determining your destiny, how you turn out. And then, for non-immigrants, right? A lot of people are born into a system where the opportunities are already there, where the sense of entitlement. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Denzel Washington's one of his quotes, right, where he said, like dreams are just dreams without goals, and ultimately they feel disappointment. That we have to exercise discipline, and on the road to your dreams, you have to exercise discipline, and you must have goals. That it takes commitment to start, but it takes consistency to finish. So I hope people will read the book and kind of experience and understand the consistency that it takes to get to where they want to get to. And finally, when they achieve their dreams, they need to acknowledge that they have achieved that dream. Because as human beings, when we achieve one dream, we set another, right? And we keep going. It's very important to take a break and just acknowledge it and just be appreciative of all the forces, or, it could be your God, that you believe in, if you're religious, the people around you, the country you are in. You need to be thankful, appreciate it, acknowledge it, and then keep moving forward, because guess what? Everything that starts to happen after that, those are bonuses, and you just got to be able to, just relish those moments and be thankful.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Deji, what a story you have, and I really appreciate the fact that you took some time and came on the show today and come to share this. I really am in awe of what you've achieved and accomplished, and it is a great inspiration for any immigrant and non-immigrant to get not only the American dream, but whatever dream you want in life. So once again, Deji, thanks a lot for coming on my show and sharing this today.
Hey, thank you very much for having me, Dave. I really appreciate it.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts. Or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.